Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Music Done. I'm your host Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good night, and above all else, that you are looking after yourselves and one another. Ladies and gentlemen, I have with me, along in this musical journey, my two co-hosts and cohorts, Mr. Ken Cheshire. How's it going, Ken?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, and the one and only Mr. Jim Bricker. How's it going, Jim?
I'm doing pretty darn well, Armando. Happy to be back with you and with Ken.
Happy that you're back with us. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are back this week with episode 3 of Is This a Masterpiece? Now, the purpose of this series is to take a look at a list of 5 albums that I put together. And to be quite honest with you guys out there, I could have put a list of 10 albums together, but putting a list of 5 was a pretty daunting task. I came up with 3 of the albums right away, and the last 2 were quite difficult to pick. But I'm a trooper. I did it. So
Good man.
the purpose of of these episodes is to take a look at these 5 albums and discuss whether or not if they are or not masterpieces. Now, as we said before, a masterpiece could be viewed in different ways. With regards to an album, it could be the music that's on the album, the production that went into the recording of the album, the songwriting, even the artwork that went into for the cover of the album. And in some cases, certain albums and songs evoke and bring back certain emotions for people and memories. So there are different variables for what would make up a masterpiece. In this episode, episode 3, we are going to be looking at Eagles and their release Hotel California. Hotel California is the band's fifth release, is a follow-up release to their 1975 album One of These Nights. It was released on December 8th, 1976 through Asylum and eventually Elektra Records when they merged. It was recorded between March and October of 1976, and it was recorded at Criteria Studios in Miami and the record plant in LA. Has a playing time of 43 minutes and 28 seconds. Now, that playing time, on a vinyl back in the day, like for today on CD, it doesn't seem like much. But they packed a hell of a punch and a lot of music on those grooves on these albums in the 70s. So, and in terms of chart position, California, can't speak tonight, peaked at number 1 in the US, number 1 in Canada, and number 2 in the UK. So it fared slightly better in North America than it did in the UK. Now, without further ado, I will pass the virtual mic to my left over to Mr. Ken Cheshire, and he'll give his opinion on his history with this album, and we'll go from there.
Thank
Ken?
you, sir. Um, Another album that we're talking about that came out while I was in high school. I have heard this album at, I think probably it seems like hundreds of times. This is one of those albums that um, it was almost issued to everybody. Uh, you know, um,
Welcome to puberty. Here's your copy of
Welcome to,
Hotel
yeah,
California.
exactly, yeah.
The rite of
And
passage. Yeah.
that's right. Um, everybody had a copy, that I knew that bought albums at least. Um, it came out just about the time I started playing guitar in, various bands and stuff like that. So it definitely had that influence on me. Um, to this day, it's you can't throw a stick without someone proclaiming how good the title song is, and it's just held in such high regard. And I often wonder, with all the talk about this album or the love of this album's on social media, how much of that is nostalgia. Um, it's one thing when there are people just discovering the album, and then I think it's another thing when it's someone like me that has this has been a part of my life for 50 years. It's it's kind of hard to kind of separate the album from its history in my life. Um, the killer songs on this album, without a doubt. I wish Glenn Fry had done more vocals on this album, lead vocals. Um, New Kid in Town was the only one that he sang lead vocals on. It's leans really heavily into the Don Henley vocals, which yeah, he's really good. But I think I've always been gravitated more towards Glenn Fry's influence in the band on the previous albums in this. I would have personally liked to have had another Joe Walsh song. I was a huge Joe Walsh fan, before he joined the Eagles. And but there's only one, Pretty Maids All in a Row. It's a really good song, but it's not even one of Joe Walsh's best songs, um, to me. But it's a pretty darn good song. Um, they drew on their work with Don Felder, J.D. Souther, Joe Vitale in songwriting, Randy Meisner, um, all contributing, a lot to this album. And Henley and Fry were kind of like if you've watched that 3 hour documentary on Eagles, um,
I
you know,
did. I
they,
have it.
they yeah, they ruled with an iron fist. And
If I can just interject something,
yeah,
watching that documentary turned me off of Glenn Fry completely.
oh, I agree. Turn me off of both of them.
Yeah.
They did more than a fair amount of bullying. And I think Joe Walsh survived just because I think he probably just kept his mouth shut and did what he was told. Because,
Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, um, I try not to let that taint my opinion, but it's kind of hard not for it not to affect it a little bit. Um, but like I said, New Kid in Town, Wasted Time, that and the reprise. Um, some songs obviously are better than others. Um, Personally, I'm just kind of tired of listening to this album. But there again, I've been living with it. I've been living with it for 50 years, and uh, and any kind of oldies, radio station, is playing the heck out, still playing the heck out of these songs. And
Yeah.
when I feel like listening to Eagles, I will go to one of the earlier albums. I think they are. I just think they're more interesting. Um, I love the story, the Joe Walsh story of the guitar lick for Life in the Fast Lane. That was a finger exercise, you know,
Yeah.
that he used to do before going on stage, and they incorporated it into a song. It's like, well, okay, well, that's kind of cool. Yeah, why not? Um, but good songs, yes, at the time. I really love this album. It just hasn't weathered the decades for me, as well as other albums. Um, so that's it in a nutshell for me.
Fair enough. Okay. Jim. Excuse me.
Hotel California came out when I was 11. And was kind of half joking that it's like, "Hi, welcome to puberty. Here's your copy of Hotel California."
How
It
The
was
same
wasn't.
could be said with Rumors and Frampton Comes Alive and so many
it?
other albums in that time period. Um, Hotel California, it's a great collection of great songs. There's no doubt about it. Every you were saying before we turned the camera on, it's like looking at that side one, it's like, oh Nelly,
Banger.
there's
After the
four
other. Boom, boom,
just
boom, boom.
fantastic songs on there. The Hotel California, there's wasn't much on the radio that sounded like Hotel California with two 12-string acoustic guitars and with the outro of, Joe Walsh on electric and then uh, Don Felder switching to 12-string electric. I mean, it's just fantastic sounding song. Um, the New Kid in Town has those wonderful harmonies that are probably, JD Souther's fault. And I don't really mean fault because they're just beautiful.
You meant fault in
Life
a
in
good way. In a good way.
Exactly. Life in the Fast Lane's fantastic. Wasted Time. Um, Very nice closer to side one. There are some beautiful themes. On side two, it's the lesser, the lesser of the powerful songs, but they're still, really, really good. Victim of Love is great. Pretty Maids, Try and Love Again. I love Meisner's vocal lines on that song. I just think it's so well done. And, The Last Resort with its,
Yeah.
um, I think that's pretty much the up yours to the Jesus Freaks, I think, if I read the lyrics right.
Yeah.
Um, but just the whole, you know, it's it was number one and all over AM and FM radio for a reason. All of these songs are just fantastic, and it's a great collection of great songs. I'm not going to knock it. Like Ken, it's very easy to get sick of it because it was ubiquitous. It was everywhere. I mean, in my head, I can, sing the outro guitar lines to Hotel California. I've heard it so many times. I can't sing it well, but I can sing it. Um,
Only if I'm drunk can I do it. Never mind. Go on.
well, um,
And I'm
yeah,
not a
I mean,
drinker, so.
we got to get you quick then. Um,
Hello.
yeah, Hotel California. Um, Good stuff, ubiquitous stuff. I mean, it is one of the defining albums of the late '70s
Mm, mhm,
for a very, very good reason.
mhm. Okay. All right. Thank you, Jim. Oh my God. My
Did we leave
his-
you anything?
no, no, no. My history with this album. Um, I do agree that it's a rite of passage album. I mean, this is the one Eagles album that people would say that is given to, sorry, this is the one Eagles album that is given to people for an introduction to the Eagles. Is this the best album to give? Maybe, maybe not. I'm gonna reserve judgment on that. Looking at the track listing, as we said before we started taping this illustrious episode, um, side one, bang, 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 all the way down. Track one to track four. Uh, Side two, starting off with a reprieve of Wasted Time, and then segueing into Victim of Love. Pretty Maids all in a row. I've gained a new appreciation for when I heard the and saw the video for All Freezes Over. Trying to Love Again, I really also need to reacquaint myself with. Overall. I do think that, for example, if you were to put, in terms of sequencing, I do believe that if you were to put Try and Love Again as the start of side two and put Wasted Time Reprieve before The Last Resort, it would be sort of like a nice sort of ending to the album, like wrapping everything up, you
Yeah.
know, um,
Hmm.
musically, musically. The Last Resort to me is a magnificent opus and a fantastic way to end off the album. I think this is um, their A Day in the Life, if we're going to do comparisons,
Hmm.
because nothing, in my opinion, can compare to the majesty of what's in this track. The arrangement, the vocals, the sentiment behind it. And I did mention to you before, earlier today, that there is an Italian singer by the name of Umberto Tozzi who had a major hit in 1977 with the song Ti Amo. And the B-side to Ti Amo was a song called Dimentica Dimentica. And there is a musical passage in Dimentica Dimentica. There is a direct lift. A slight change here and there, but if you listen hard enough, it is a direct lift from The Last Resort.
Hmm.
And the fact that that track came out in 77 and this album came out in 76, I say no more.
You be the judge.
Yes.
Speaking of Last Resort, I do want to make a correction to what I said before because I just consulted the great big encyclopedia in the sky. Apparently, Last Resort is more of um, a plea towards environmentalism than it is an up years to the Jesus freaks.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. But even like you cannot deny the impact of this album overall.
No.
Um, it is still played on classic FM rock radio today. And when I saw the Eagles for the first time in 1994, July of 94 in Toronto, all of side one was played and all but one track on side two, pretty Try and Love Again was played live in concert. So this album had legs in terms
Yeah.
of staying power, in terms of musical viability, in terms of hits. The one downfall for this album for me is the fact that it is overplayed. Okay. It is played ad nauseum. All right. To the point where you don't want to hear it for a while. Like you don't want to turn on the classic rock radio because you hear one or two or three or four or five of these songs in heavy rotation at any given time, at any day, on any day and night. So I do believe it does suffer from overplay. Is it a masterpiece? I will reserve my opinion until we go around the circle.
Go around the horn.
Yes, we did. Yes, we will. Ken?
Historically, um, yes. Personally, no. For me, it's not my favorite Eagles album. That would probably go to one of these nights, probably.
Hmm.
I get that.
I mean, in '78, it was nominated for 5 Grammys. It won two of the five, one being Record of the Year. I mean, um, uh, the impact of this album is undeniable. Um, so, in the grand overall scheme of the universe, it is. But that doesn't mean I gotta love it. You,
Okay. I
I
mean,
mean, um,
fair enough.
uh, so yeah, and opinions change over the years. Um, back in the late '70s, early '80s, it might have been a masterpiece for me, even. But some things just don't weather the decades so much. Um, but I recognize and respect the influence that it's had and the wide love for it. I don't If it wasn't a masterpiece, it wouldn't be so popular to this day. So drawing that line in between those two aspects, that's my answer.
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
I'm going to disagree with my dear friend Mr. Cheshire. I think, as I said before in my comments, I think this album is full of classics. I think the album is a classic. There's not a naff track on here. Well, the Wasted Time Reprise maybe is a little bit of a cheat, but all their songs are just freaking amazing. I just don't think it has that transcendent character that would take it into like the masterpiece status.
Okay.
And for me, the masterpiece, the first three that come to my head are Steely Dan Asia, Miles Kind of Blue, and Beatles Abbey Road are like the three masterpiece albums to me.
Okay, good night,
Because
folks. I'm sorry.
yeah, good night. And there's something, all of those are transcendent in some way, shape, or form. The easiest way to think about them is like, is the whole greater than the sum of its parts? And for me, no, Hotel California isn't bigger than all of the great songs on there. All the great songs on there make it a great album, but it's not like, oh, Hotel California, even though they're all the songs are great, they're on the radio all the time for a reason, but there's just not something about this album that, makes me want to hang it in the Louvre. Do you
Okay.
do you follow me, Armando? You're looking a
No,
little quizzical there.
yes, Jim, you are coming in loud and clear. Thank you so
Okay, all
much.
right.
Yes, 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 yes. Um,
Is there something you wanted to challenge me on there?
no,
Okay, all right.
no, you are coming in loud and clear, my dear boy. Now, in terms of my opinion on the album, is it a masterpiece? To me, a masterpiece is an album where you will listen to every track and not want to skip a song. A masterpiece is where you're listening to an album and you look forward to the next song because you know it's going to be just as good, or if not better, than the song that came before it. And unfortunately, this is not that album for me. It doesn't hold the same emotional connection that I have to Queen 2, for example. Um, and it does have the unfortunate tag of overkill in terms of being overplayed.
The real thing.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
I think that that was one of the reasons why it's killed it for me. I won't turn off the radio when I hear a song playing from the album, but if I have to listen to Hotel California on K97 one more time, I'm going to give birth in the car. That's how, I mean,
Really?
it's it's that tedious to me at this point in time. You know what I mean? Why not play uh Pre-Mades All in a Row
Or victim of love, or
or
one,
Victim of Love or The Last
yeah.
Resort? There are 9 songs on this album, or play Wasted Time Reprieve leading into Victim of Love.
Now you're talking.
Why
Yeah.
not go there? Why not take a
Yeah.
chance and do something different? But when I mean, it is a well-known fact in the music business. When something works, drive it into the ground. And the the fact that that this album is played again, Title Cut, etc., New Kid in Town, Life in the Fast Lane, those 3 songs alone are played ad nauseum. Unfortunately for me, it's killed it. Now, ladies and gentlemen watching, don't get me wrong. I've seen the Eagles, I believe, 5 times.
Hey now, that's
Twice
saying
with
something.
twice with Vince Gill. So, I love the Eagles, but and a big but I do have. But there are other albums and other songs that do deserve a fair amount of equal attention than the title track from this album, or the second song, New Kid in Town, or Life in the Fast Lane,
Mhm.
you know?
Correct.
So it's for that reason alone, or well, that reason, that I do not believe that this album is a masterpiece.
It's interesting, kind of thinking about the overplayed aspect of it, and we're all kind of on the side of like, yes, 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 it's overplayed. I think, between our birth years, there's like 10 years, span in here, and yet we're all of the opinion that this thing was just overplayed on on radio, not only when it came out, when we were all in some prime form of music listening, but then, it just kind of continued.
Mhm.
It became part of, ARR, then it became part of classic rock, and now it's, oldies, God forbid, that's how old we are. And,
Speak for
it's
yourself,
just
but go
like,
on.
you know,
I'm just
I
starting out in my
I've said
days,
my
but
piece, darn it.
go ahead.
Jim
I
is
know.
Jim is the middle child in this. Yeah.
I am the middle child.
I apologize. Oh, but I know what you're saying. I understand it. I mean, let's put it this way. When it gets to a point when you know the first verse of a song, on a dark desert highway, cool wind in my hair, warm smell of colitis rising up through the air. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you know it before it comes on, there's a problem. You know,
Well, and I would go a step further. The first, help me out here, Ken. I don't know if it's the first bar, but it's that little 6 note guitar figure. It's like, all right, I know what's coming next. I don't need to hear the other
yeah,
6 minutes and 25 seconds of that song
yeah,
because
yeah,
it's already ingrained into my DNA.
yeah.
But that kind of speaks more, I think, to our generation, just being like, yeah, 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 I get it, without kind of diminishing how really great a song it is. I haven't had this discussion with my, 20x-year-old, younger son. It's like, what does he think of Hotel California? He did not live through the, it being ubiquitous on the radio,
The initial
nor
run,
did
yeah,
I play it, at home ad nauseum, because it lives in my head rent free. I don't have to purchase a copy of it. I know it.
yeah.
So it'd just be interesting to kind of get the perspective of the younger kids out there and how they feel about Hotel California, because we're just so, you get off
Yeah.
my lawn
I
about the whole
know.
thing.
Back in my day, and when when we had to go to the store to get our records, and you know,
That's right.
do you
Uphill
remember
both
Vinyl
ways.
Kids? I mean, yeah,
In the snow.
Yep. Hey
you
kids, how
know,
about those 8 tracks?
and 10-foot snow drifts that we had to walk through, or you guys had to walk through, or had to be pushed through to get to the
Yeah.
record store,
Yeah.
um, and use chains on my tires, otherwise I'd get stuck. But yeah, I get what you're saying in terms of that. No, it's all points are valid.
Yeah.
All points are valid.
All fodder for our epilogue.
There you go. There you go. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Um, give us your opinion if you'd like on Hotel California. If, is it a masterpiece? Do you like the album? Do you not like the album? Do you believe that the album suffers from overplay, or whatever your opinions, please leave them down below in the comments. And if not this album, which album of the Eagles do you believe is indeed a masterpiece?
And why
If there
it's
were
on the border. Yeah.
exactly,
That's a different album.
exactly. And if there is indeed such a thing in the catalog of the Eagles, I mean, like we said in the previous episode, you know, some bands never really do achieve their so-called masterpiece, you know? Because I think if they, well, personally, if they did, where would they go from there?
And yet they still
They still
strive.
strive. They still try. So for Ken Cheshire and Jim Bricker, I'm Armando Venditti. I want to thank both of you for coming along with me on this extremely entertaining, I guess you'd say a long-winded journey in terms of what is considered a masterpiece. So we will see you again for our next episode of Is This a Masterpiece coming up? And please click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content we got coming up. And we will see you soon with another episode of Is This a Masterpiece? Take care. Have a good night. Bye for now.